I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order for March 26. Can you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please note that this meeting is in person and is being recorded. So, Gary.
Yes, so as you know, Madam Chair, over the last, I think it was the March 9th meeting of the Select Board, Cody had presented the long-term proposal for debt. We've been talking about this for quite some time, not only on the CIPC, but also Cody and I have been talking about the longer-term projects. So I thought it would be great if Cody had given a presentation to the committee, and so that everyone's up to speed on what we're looking at going forward.
Perfect.
Nice, thank you.
Looks good so far.
How does it look?
No debt, no nothing.
Right?
Good, that's
Put
good
a lot of
news.
work into it.
It's recognizing that.
Sorry.
What about the remote? Sometimes you have to switch.
Lead broadcasting. There you go.
Oh, much better.
It's going to be a great meeting, Cody, if you just have to describe it in detail.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody should get up there and give that thing a kick on top of this
Fine, I
one.
can, let me just try one more time, and if not, you can do putting it up on yours. It's recognizing.
Yeah, it is, once the screen does that.
Is it like an input, maybe, option? No, source? Oh,
That's good.
Do you want some
It's
assistance
usually one,
from
it's usually one. That's where,
guys next door?
That's probably a good
yeah,
idea.
see, it's usually one.
No signal.
I was thinking too. I was waiting for them to come in.
No, it's wonderful.
Well, I've struggled in that way, but they're really probably faster at it.
Can't pay for the internet.
They're much faster at it.
This is just a tactic. We're just.
John or Brian,
Delayed
they're right next door. Can you go get one of the
Oh, you want me to
dollars?
grab them?
Why don't you plug, yeah, you just
Yeah.
plug
All
it.
right, we'll plug, John, we're gonna plug it in over here. Plug it into this one, see what happens.
It's a laptop, not the.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Bill. I think it's the overhead, not the laptops.
I'm with you.
Do you agree? Just give it a kick.
I'm with you. The overhead.
It's a night where we definitely need the screen for everything we're doing.
I know.
Or we'll just have a lively discussion about something.
Well, we could do that.
can't.
Here he is.
Okay, here we go.
Yay! Well, look,
He just
look
needed to
at
come
how
in.
good he is.
Good job, Dan.
He just had to walk in.
Definitely afraid of him.
It's fabulous.
So I'll note in my version, I had updated it to the March 26th Finance Committee meeting, so bear with me on the incorrect date. We've been working on this with our Long-Range Capital Planning Committee for quite some time. The idea is to give you a little introduction of the committee, what those potential projects are, review the long-term debt scenario, what the impact would be on taxes, essentially, view a high-level comparable communities tax rate analysis, enterprise fund borrowing, and then the total impact on both enterprise fund and general fund. So this is who the Long Range Capital Planning Committee is made up of. The group's been meeting for about a year and a half now. We held 3 public workshops throughout the fall, late summer and into the fall. One focused on schools, one focused on public works, and one focused on general government. And so we've done a survey, we garnished a lot of feedback, and this is how we kind of came up with these high-level recommendations. So this gives you an overview of the general fund projects that we're looking at for potential borrowing. Those first three projects are the smaller projects, we're going to call them. And those are the Memorial Stadium, the high school roof, and the high school track. We would likely go out to borrowing for those first, and also we would likely put those together. I think we've mentioned before, when we go out for borrowing, if we borrow a couple $1 million, the rate generally isn't great, and so we're better off packaging multiple smaller projects. I say smaller because they're still $6 million, but we're better off packaging those and going out for one bond, and we get a better rate. And so with our AAA bond rating, Gary and I review what communities are getting for rates right now throughout the market, and we feel pretty comfortable we would get around a 3.25% rate with the AAA. I think it goes back to why we're very hesitant to ever dip into our stabilizations and why we want to always show some progression in our stabilization, because the difference between AAA and AA, we're seeing 5% interest rates. And while, on 13 million, it's sizable, but on a $150 million school, you're talking $50 million of additional interest between a 3.25% rate and a 5% rate. So we definitely want to keep our AAA rating.
What years are those? I can't read it.
So the year for funding, we're recommending a 2028 bond for the first three projects, the stadium, the high school roof, and the track. And then, 2030, we're looking at the need to replace the middle school. I have it noted as middle school/high school because we don't know what we're going to do yet. It'll be some form of replacing the middle school. That may be actually replacing what's there. That may be building a new high school and moving the current middle school to where the high school is. So, but the idea is the middle school. Then you have the recreation center and COA upgrades. And then the next three major projects are replacement of all of our elementary schools. And those are, you can see, 2035, 2040, and 2050. You can go ahead next. Go ahead. Go back.
Can you go back to that? I just got curious. I'm sure it's been asked, but just the high school track. What's the issue with that? And does it have to be replaced if we're building potentially a new high school in 2030 and moving the middle school over there? And, that's a big unknown, but
Yeah.
wouldn't we be throwing money out the window in that case to have
It's a good
first-rate track for middle school?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think believe it or not, the $1 million doesn't get it to be that really high caliber track. This has been on CIPC for
Yeah,
a long
what it
time.
does, John, is it's really only repairing the surface. The problem with the track too, the underlayment is kind of old, the base of that is old. So it looks to replace the base and then the surface, but
Yeah.
if you looked at the pictures
Okay,
that they showed us,
that's-
it's all broken up and.
I get it. I'm just
But the
curious.
middle school
It's a
still
mess.
would be able to use it, and
Right.
the challenge is also, we likely won't know a final plan until we get closer to that 2030 mark, because MSBA, so the process with that now is the school committee did approve the statement of interest at their meeting Monday night to move forward with MSBA funding. That's going to be on the select board agenda for Monday as well. I anticipate that they'll approve that statement of interest. And then we have to get accepted into MSBA. This is a big project, so we might not get accepted like we did the roof in the first round. Hopefully we do. But then, like all MSBA projects, you have to have a feasibility study. Feasibility study for a roof is a lot quicker than it is for a whole new building. That will hopefully iron out our options of where we're going to go, whether it's a new high school, new middle school. And this is just something that, given it's been on CIPC for
At least 3-4 years
yeah,
now.
3-4 years, and
And then why was the recreation center and the COA lumped together? Those are two very different projects.
yeah, it's primarily for borrowing purposes. Again,
No, I get that, but you're borrowing the same year and they're listed separately. I'm just curious, why are those listed together?
Because they're both community-focused upgrades is what they're looked at, and the COA upgrades, we have estimated at $3 to $4 million. It's primarily made up of the recreation center. And so in doing.
So that's I'm looking at that slide, I can't see that.
Yeah. The idea.
So it'd be
this
nice
is-
to have that broken out, so we see what the rec center's gonna cost. And you can still lump them together like you do
Absolutely.
in the first four.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I will say the point of this is very high level.
Yeah, no, I get
Because we're at the point where, beyond 2030, it's really a guesstimate at best. Because, the reality is we could have a constituency in town that in 2029 thinks the rec center is priority number one, and then these things get shifted. So, but we can break it out for greater clarity there, definitely.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Bob. In regards to the term differential in the COA rec department in 2032, is that just for consistency with the amount of borrowing
It is, yeah.
for that perspective, kind of?
It is, yeah. So you'll see that.
Said as well.
Yeah, the 13 million, we're recommending a 10-year term,
Yeah.
and essentially that's just because of the amount. And then the 25-year, and you get a little bit of a better rate, obviously, if you do a little bit of a smaller term for a project like that. And then once you get to the schools, I mean, you have to go 30 years. Just the debt service would just be too much.
Is Lynn still our?
Yes, absolutely.
Yay.
Oh, go ahead, sir.
So another reason to split them up is that stakeholders, because people might be in favor of the rec, but not the COA. And I wanted to mention, John, what's been talked about is that there are people in the community that use that track, that walk quite a bit on it. So that's another person. who
Yeah, no,
might be in
I'm just
favor.
asking, I'm not
Yeah,
opposed
it's a good
to,
question.
I mean, you know, it's just,
I think there's been situations where they've had meets that they couldn't have because of holes and, you know, it's gonna be.
One question I do have, is that 3.25, how comfortable are you with that, given what may be happening in 2028? Yields may be going up.
So we get comparison yield reports from other communities that are building projects like this, schools, some are building
And this
even
is
municipal
going- This
buildings.
is going through what? This bond is being floated through what?
This is conventional borrowing,
Convention from who?
whoever's available in the market.
Whoever's available.
Yeah, so it could be a bank, it could be a lending.
Investment company or
Yes,
whatever.
yeah,
Okay.
they're all grade, it's all AAA
I know, it's all
securities.
Moody's AAA, I
Yep.
understand. I just don't know how you got the 3.25.
That's like an average of what we're seeing for a volume that we're borrowing at and our AAA status amongst the communities that are out there right now going
Because
for
you're
borrowings.
projecting 2 years out.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm afraid of.
we could, that would probably fluctuate. I mean, we'd knock on wood that our rating would stay the same, and we're doing everything we can to maintain that. So, but that's an average, we look back a couple of years for AAA status. That amount hasn't really
So
fluctuated
you
that much.
wouldn't build in any more risk to that 3.25?
Not at this time, I wouldn't.
But
It might have
it's-
to be looked at in a couple of years or 3
Yeah,
years from now. if
this
these
is
projects
based
are
on
good.
current market conditions. I don't think any of us can accurately
Yeah, we can't.
determine
predict.
what rates will
Yeah.
be.
No, but I'm just-
But yeah, no, this is based on current market conditions, what we're seeing, and yeah, I mean, if.
Theoretically, we
depending on
could
what-
build, yeah, we could build a factor in there later on, but
That's what I'm saying, Cody, it's just a risk factor, that may be a little lean as far as the yield on that.
Well, we took an average, and so we're seeing some AAA communities borrow for 2.75. We're seeing some borrow for, 3.5, 3.6, and so 3.25 is kind of right in the middle right
Yeah.
now.
If you're
And so we have
comfortable
strong.
with it,
yeah.
fine.
Typically, the larger the volume, the better rate you're gonna get.
What is that change point as far as the total versus the rate?
What
You
was
know,
that?
at what point does it go higher, what point does it go lower, as far as
Oh,
your borrowing?
there's no set amount. It's really it's
there a
it's all based
ballpark,
on.
or-
Yeah, and then it also, we could get premiums on these. So if you get a premium on some of these, you book that as revenue. I think on the Mass
It's
General
like
Law, you can
buying
actually.
points on your
On the Mass
mortgage.
General Law, you
Yep,
can actually
exactly.
use the premium to pay down the
Buying
debt too.
points on your mortgage,
Right, it's variable,
get the
though.
premiums, right,
Variable.
Yeah.
and market driven.
Yeah. So typically, once you get over that $10 million mark, there's some stability. Right now, at less than 10 million, you have a hard time getting a decent rate.
What if it's 20 or 30, I guess is my point.
Not a huge difference once you get over
No.
that 10.
If
Yeah,
you're talking 100 million, yes.
yeah. But it's really, you're not seeing a significant market for $5-6 million projects, and that's when the rate is a lot higher.
There's another reason to collapse that recreation center or the COA together, at least get the volume to 30, but separate it in the
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
presentation.
absolutely.
Yeah, great stuff.
Could you, just along the same thought, if you collapsed it all, then I guess you couldn't vote on it, though, that would be.
We did what?
So
Collapsed all that stuff in the,
You know, one,
yeah.
you could, I don't, the debt service off the bat would be significant, and I don't, I mean, I don't know if it would get
I'm just saying,
approved.
it struck me.
I think even some of these, you're going to be a challenge to begin with, but I think if we went forward with a debt exclusion for, $400 million, we may have a.
Oh, you mean in town?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brian, didn't we have this
50
discussion
short
at the
on the high
meeting the
school.
other day?
Yeah, yeah.
Not
No,
everyone
if it
can
did, it would in
afford,
one ear and out the other.
not everyone can afford to pay.
Yeah, and so we'll
that
get into
much.
that in the next slides, what that actually means, and so you can go to the next slide, Gary. So here's exactly what that means, and this, it's a little bit small on here, so I apologize, but this was emailed to all of you previously, so you should have it. But you see in 2028, which is those three projects that we proposed putting together, this, our annual debt service, based on those terms, as I had mentioned before, at a 3.25% rate, our debt service is about $1.5 million. And then in 2030 is when you add the middle school replacement, our debt service goes to about $9.5 million a year. And then you can see, as we add more projects, your annual debt service payments increase. And then as projects begin to drop off, you know, the debt service decreases. So you see, for instance, in 2038 is your first drop off because that 10-year borrowing for the 13 million drops off. And then you add the Potter or DeMello School in 2040, you add another school in 2045, and then you reach your peak in 2050, when essentially you have debt for all of these projects. And our debt service is significant at, you know, $21.5 million. And then you start to drop off again as all those projects drop off. And that's why I say, going from essentially a $0 debt service to a 21.5 million debt service to the voters, I'm not sure if that would be successful. So,
And what's our current debt service right now on an annual basis?
About 900-some thousand.
And what's the balance on that?
those all fall off over the
Yeah.
next
I would say
10
in the
years.
aggregate, probably about 14 million. Remember, most of that is the police station.
So 14 million, and we're paying 900 grand annually on a $14 million mortgage.
Yeah, that'd be,
20 years?
It was a
well,
tw-
we've already paid off some of that, so.
I think it was a 20-year
2032, I think, is the last, I'd have to go and look.
Yep,
Yeah.
awesome, thank you.
So as we get closer along, further along, that's, even becomes less and less.
Goes down, right?
Yeah.
So this is, I think, one of the most telling pieces, is this is what the impact would be on a fiscal, and this is based on today's numbers, right? So average home assessment, and single-family home assessment in Dartmouth is $657,047. Average tax bill being $5,276. So based on that, this is what your impact would be to that resident. And so obviously, if your home has a higher value, the impact is higher. Your home has a lower value, the impact is lower. And so that first year of borrowing, which is those three school projects, it's a little less than $100 for the average resident. Once we have to borrow for a middle school, that goes up to $617. Then we borrow for the COA and recreation center programs, and you go up to another, $110, and you get up to almost $730. 2035, it's up to $1,000 per resident. 2038, some of that debt begins to drop off, and so it goes down to a little less than $890. And then, again, you add another school in 2040, another school in 2045, another school in 2050, and it peaks, like I said, in 2050 at a little over $1,400 for the average resident. And then as the debt begins to fall off, it decreases the debt exclusion amount on the average resident, and down to $0 in 2080, because you borrow for the last school in 2050, 30-year bond, 2080 is when that falls off.
So these are obviously large numbers that people will get a little sticker shock over. I think, to put it into context, an important similar graph to make is, one, these projects aren't going away, with maybe the exception of the rec center. But we will have to replace schools. We will have to, at one point in time, they're not gonna last forever, in other words, right? So I think if we can make this same graph, but shift the timeline further to the right and show with the escalation rate that we're considering, that is currently forecasted, what those numbers would become, is a telling information. Because you shift that 5 years to the right,
right.
and your $1,400 peak is gonna become a $1,800 peak.
Right.
Or something along those lines. And that I think helps provide context of, yes, these are large numbers, but they're only gonna get larger if we kick the can.
Yep, absolutely. That's a good point. And then just on the right there, you can see those are the projects that we're talking about funding through this debt. Next slide. So one of the things that we hear is, the tax rate obviously is always a concern. Fire tax is separate here in Dartmouth, which is very unique. You don't see that often in most communities. And so what we did is we wanted to put that into perspective, including that fire tax, because that's important. Everyone has to pay it, depending on what district you're in, it changes. But based on our average, the current tax rate of $8.03 per thousand of comparable communities, which comparable communities were derived looking at budget size, state aid calculations, there's a whole, we'll get to that after this, but it's not just saying, okay, we're like Westport, we're like New Bedford. It's more bigger picture. Geography plays some role, but those really aren't our comparable communities. And so we look at more of the financial piece for our comparable communities. What you see of those communities, the average tax rate is $10.63 per thousand, meaning that we could do an override of $26.2 million, and that would get us to that average tax rate. So if we increased our tax levy by $26.2 million, we would then just be at the average of those comparable communities. We wouldn't be over it, we would just be exactly at that.
That's a good point to make.
Fire district rates included, because that's an important piece. Obviously, each district has a different rate. So based on District 1, the total rate is $851 per thousand, District 2 is $906 per thousand, and District 3 is $882 a thousand. Still, all three of those, even your highest being in District 2, you're significantly less than the comparable communities tax rate of $1063 per thousand. And so this is the breakdown of some of those communities. And so, tax rate, population, tax levy, state aid, total budget size are factors that we looked at. And so you'll notice Dartmouth has one of the lowest rates. What I used for the tax rate was the average of all three districts. And so, because there's no single number to utilize. So we took the total rate with the fire districts and took an average. And so that's how you get $8.80 per thousand, because it's an average.
What would be the purpose of showing this?
To show that we have a very low tax rate. It's comparable to the rest of the Commonwealth and what the services are being provided. It's a very low tax rate, and that even with going out for these projects, the debt, we could still be significantly under what tax rates are in other communities.
I don't know, I have problems with that. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, Cody, I'm looking at this too. I see Andover, I see Duxbury, I see Milton. I mean, their per capita income is a lot higher than Dartmouth. And I would presume that
So-
their housing is a lot higher. Their
Some of it is.
assessed value a lot
Some of
higher.
it is,
I know
but-
Andover is.
Yeah, some of it is, but I'll say there is a reliance to accept that we are a lot like some of those communities.
So I'm not a fan of this comparable chart either, for a variety of reasons. And I was going to look, I didn't have time. Which of these communities have a split tax rate? Because I think that makes a big difference.
It does,
We
yeah.
tend to forget that in Dartmouth, that
almost-
we have a split tax rate, and the
About
commercial
about
sector is paying
70%
much
of
more.
about 70% of these have split tax
But I
rates.
find that not to be comparable as soon as they, are not the same as us in regards to our low tax rate, because the commercial side is picking that up. The other part of that is, yes, you added the fire tax, of course, that's great, but we don't know which one of these towns, and I know it's rare in Massachusetts, have full-time fire employees, because that adds a lot to their tax rate. We are blessed with a volunteer service and paying 3 chiefs.
Yes.
So I just look at things like that and say,
Yeah, but I don't-
is it really comparable?
Well, but we can't get into the operation of each
No,
town.
I know what you're saying,
because
but to
you can
throw
make
it
the
out
same
like we're
argument.
just low.
But you can make the same argument, do they have the same size police department as us? Do they offer these services? I think that
I
is.
think that's important as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. We're never going to be able to do an analysis.
No, I
of
know,
that
I'm just
level.
saying, I think it's too general of a statement to say, well, we need to pay more because look at what
No,
everyone
no.
else
So
pays.
the point of this is not we need to pay more. The point of this is to show we could invest in our community
No,
and still have a rate that
I'm
is.
disagreeing, I'm just saying I don't find it to be the best argument.
So it's not an argument, it's fact. All we're doing here is, you're going to find, what Gary and I present is not to say you should do this, not to say you shouldn't do this. These are the facts.
May I make a point?
One of the reasons I think it's helpful is that so many people complain about the cost of the taxes in this town, almost like they don't know people who live in other towns and what they pay.
Well, I agree, Terry, that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Point,
Well-
so if sorry.
Oh, good.
I might suggest that you qualify the chart. I love the chart. I absolutely love the chart. If you qualify it as the characteristics
characteristics of Dartmouth, the fire, we've averaged it. Take the nuances to Dartmouth. Throw out the high, throw out the low, and, combine it, great. Throw out a couple. Dartmouth is very, very well-known from an outsider's. I know I'm a Washer-Shore. Everyone tells me how much I'm a Washer-Shore. Very well known to have the lowest tax rate around.
It is.
And the services you get in this community, I was in heaven when I moved in. My tax rate was nothing.
Don't get too used to it.
And now it's catching up, and I'm like, finally. So I love the chart. It provides analysis. It brings us into the 25th century, whatever we're in, with respect to municipal services and the cost for municipal services in the year 2027. And we are really behind, in my opinion, from your next few charts, which are your enterprise funds. So we're going to ask the community, Dartmouth 1, for all of this together. Let's show what everybody else is doing, just for a point. People don't have to buy the chart, but thank you for presenting it.
Yeah, go ahead. I like the chart too. I think it's great. And I think I asked for something similar. At least I think I did in my head. Just so that, to raise awareness in town, where we're at, where we're going. I know that you didn't choose some local communities like Westport, Fairhaven, but I do think that it's valuable to throw it in there, because it's what people around here know. You put some of the towns on here, locals aren't necessarily familiar, and to them, it could be Greek. So just having more local comparisons so they understand that, I agree. That's why I moved here. I moved here because our taxes are low. And our taxes have remained low for over 20 years that I've lived here, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate roads that don't have huge potholes, schools that are well-funded, and police force and fire force that is fully staffed. So, there's got to be a good in-between.
Yeah, we can certainly do
Thank
something
you.
like that.
Right.
I think if you're going to use this, you have to explain the nuances of why it's up there, like you
Fair.
did.
Sure. I'll mention, this is
Because my
not
first-
meant to be utilized to get voters to vote for a debt exclusion. The idea of this is, this has never been presented, with the exception of a few years ago, at a high level to get people to start thinking about it. So this is all great dialogue and great feedback. It's not meant to be perfect at this point. It's
No,
meant to
I-
start the conversation,
It's great.
And it
because
came
it
out
really
of
hasn't
long range.
been, yeah, right, it came out of long-range planning, because it's really never been we should be doing something like this every couple of years.
All I'm saying is, if you're going to use this, you have to explain why it's up there. Because my first reaction, looking at this, would be, because, I don't know, my background would be, what is this tied into in terms of the objectives of the town?
I don't think, I agree with Cody in that we know Dartmouth's, we know all of what goes into it for Dartmouth. We have no idea what goes into it for the other towns. We would have to go around and interview every
Well,
town to say, this is what you get for your money.
What?
Yeah, clear
That's to
indication.
your point, because a lot of it, we don't know the intrinsics of all these towns. So you put up something like that, it may be accurate, it may be fine. It depends on what you want to establish as a point. Right?
Yeah, I can bet you if you put all
Minus the percentage
351
of
communities
qualified.
up on a chart, you're gonna see Dartmouth is probably 20th
Yeah, but
or
again,
30th.
what's the purpose of
Well, then you're looking at the entire state.
So
at that
still,
point-
what's the
Right,
purpose
at that
of
Well, to
point,
understand the value that you're getting for services.
right, so if you looked at the entire chart and all the data, you would still see that we're top, probably top at the bottom. So, I think pulling these out just maybe gives a little bit of a snapshot, but it doesn't, I mean, yeah, we run all the communities, you're gonna see Dartmouth at 880. Obviously, you're gonna have Nantucket up there at $1.50, but the values of the homes are $2.5 million, so these are all, you're never gonna find a town that's completely comparable to us. That's almost impossible. They'd have to have districts, they'd have to have, sewers, water and sewer rates that are separate, they'd have to have split tax rate, they'd have to have the same budget, population, a university, a jail. These are all things that, there isn't probably another town that exists like that in the community, in Massachusetts, but running all the
This
communities
does-
and looking at it, you can see that we're still at the bottom.
This answers the question of why do people say Dartmouth's taxes are low?
But what difference does that make?
What? Why
I mean,
does it-
if you're going to raise taxes, then you should have objectives of why you're raising the taxes.
Well, that's a separate thing. I think that this is.
All I'm asking is,
education.
if you're going to put this up here, I think you have to explain why it's up here.
I think Brian has a fair point. Brian is basically saying, whenever you show something to somebody, there's a purpose to it, right? There's an objective, there's a reason that you're showing it. So then just clearly state your objective when showing this, explain why you're showing it.
Right.
And then that way,
That's all
there's
I
no
want. I
confusion.
mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
fair.
what to make of this when I see it.
Oh, but that's
Yeah.
why I'm here giving you a presentation.
I
This
know
isn't
that,
meant
but
to be.
Yeah,
st-
Cody.
But that isn't
Yeah.
when you first put the chart up until we started nitpicking it.
Yeah,
That
but
isn't what you
this
said.
isn't meant to be a standalone document. This is meant to be a
It's
presentation.
that title, comparable community.
Yeah.
We understand why you put it up there, but.
Yeah, we can run we can
the
run
second
the
one
whole
that says
Commonwealth,
regional.
and you'll see that we're
Regional.
still at the bottom. Forget the factors.
This is how I
But
know
it's
it
still
right
low. Now, that means different things to different people, obviously, you know? But to quantify it, that number, that tax rate is one of the lowest. However you want to quantify it.
I think it's just important, like,
I know what you're saying, Brian, because I'm right there with you. It's like, okay.
Believe it, but so what?
it's providing context to what we're talking about in the context of capital planning and the cost of taxes to pay for these units. And I think what gets people passionate about the idea of comparable community, and rightfully so, is that, you know, we shouldn't try to match the tax rate of, say, North Attleboro just for the sake of matching the tax
You
rate.
shouldn't be trying to match.
And I don't think that's what we're trying to do here. We're just showing the context.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing, is showing the context. It's not saying we ought to have an $11.58
But I-
tax rate just so we can be the same as Randolph.
I think that's
We're
the
not trying to do
message it
that.
sends, not Randolph.
I think that's the message
I don't-
that
I do
is
think
heard
it's the message.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think
Not
it-
the intent
Just
of
saying.
the message.
Saying.
Context.
I don't think that it sends that message. In my brain, I think it tells me where are we compared to other similar cities and towns within Massachusetts. How are we on the tax scale? Are we already way up here, or are we way down here? Where are we? That's what it tells me.
But the point being to all this is that we have projects coming up,
Yeah,
and we may be invariably having to go up
we are.
taxes. So it's
But I
kind
would
of-
be less likely to vote
It's kind of
yes.
irrelevant and immaterial
Yeah.
in a way, but I can see comparisons, but in a way, we're saying, hey, we need these projects, in order
Right.
to do this, we have to.
Exactly.
We have, exactly.
Yeah,
We
but I
have
think if
to
we were high up on the tax rate, right? If
What
we were
difference
already like up really high
Wouldn't
compared
make
to
any
Mass.
difference.
Hold on, let me finish. Let me
Okay,
finish.
go
Let me
ahead.
finish, men. Thank you. If we were already high up on that tax rate,
mansplaining.
and then we tried to do an override, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna be like, we're already too high. But if we're kind of in the middle or down low and we put ahead an override, I'm gonna probably say, okay, that's fair.
See, I'm
You
more
might
likely.
not, but that's what I would
Oh,
say
yeah.
in my
I
head.
would vote for something if I knew we needed it. I don't
Yeah,
care what's
exactly.
happening in
It's got nothing to
Andover.
do
So the roof
with
is
how we
leaking. All
compare.
right, that's critical.
Right.
Yeah, whether you were gonna go in the hole on
I
this,
think if you had a house,
Yeah.
your house, and you need a new roof, you're gonna have to, guess what?
yeah, you need a new roof.
That's right.
Yeah.
You need a new school.
These are all
What-
really good
this is
points. and
immaterial.
This is the point. This is good dialogue before we get to the point of presenting these things, and we can make adjustments of what we think, the community will benefit from. But I do think people do say they compare themselves to others, right? Just like compensation is a good example of this.
Yep.
Compensation, you don't want to be 90% of comparable communities. You don't want to be 30%. You want to pay people where they should be. And if you don't, what are you going to do? You're going to go find a new job somewhere else. And while bouncing between communities isn't quite as easy if you own a home, you may say, well, geez, if I'm paying this in Dartmouth now, I'm not going to pay this anymore. I'm going to move to another community. Well, wait a minute. I'm not going to move to another community because I'm still paying lower taxes.
But also, the real estate agents and the real estate values, and the reason why we're a minimum aid community is because the value of our real estate, and all the real estate agents are looking at this number and saying, don't go to Westport because you're not going to get X, but if you go to Y. So it's like the plus or minus when the per pupil cost comes up. That's a plus or minus 0.75% here or there, or that's a plus or minus depending if you have foreign language at an elementary level, or if you're, it's variable, but it's great information for various contexts, for people that might enjoy looking at it. The secondary slide I do is regional, because then they're gonna go, oh, this is pretty cool. Oh, but then look at regional. Now I've got 2 data points I can go like that.
I
So
think
if
we've
you're a
spent-
geek,
I
you
think
like
we've
the
spent
slide. If
enough
you're not,
time on
you
this
can move
topic.
it.
We could spend
Because I think-
hours on
I-
this
I-
I
slide.
withdraw my remarks, other than to say, if you're gonna put this up, you should have some context of why you're putting
Yeah,
it
that's
up.
totally
Why withdraw
fair.
your remarks?
What?
Why withdraw your remarks? They were very salient.
Well,
I also
I
think
mean,
the
I just get-
benefit, I also think the
wanna
benefit
get-
of this conversation is like usual, we're representing the town meeting. These are the things that might come up at a town meeting, so people know to be prepared for that. That's all.
Just, yeah, I don't mind showing the chart. Because it's just natural, people compare. People compare cars, people compare houses, people compare job salaries. It's just natural. I think it's important, hopefully people understand what's going on if they've traveled anywhere in the state. I'll pick the lowest one right at the beginning, what is it, Falmouth? 5.73. My $800,000 home, if I tried to buy that in Falmouth, it's probably $1.8 million.
That's my point.
So I'd be paying probably double, more than double the taxes in Falmouth versus Dartmouth. So
Yeah, good point.
I don't mind showing it, but you really got to understand what's going on here. The low tax rate doesn't mean you're paying less in taxes than what I am in here in Dartmouth, you know. It's the value of your home. And some of these towns are,
Location.
you know.
Can you go to the next slide?
Next slide, okay.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the enterprise fund projects. So this is primarily made up of water and sewer. What you see is, you'll notice a 2% rate for these because we're able to borrow potentially through the Clean Water Trust. It's a state revolving fund where it's borrowed to municipalities for these types of projects at a lower rate. And so what you see is this is the near-term projects. We're going to recommend borrowing this year, actually, for these. And that is for water infrastructure upgrades. This is primarily made up of the Route 6 water main. The MassDOT will be doing the work on Route 6 to redo the whole Fons Corner Road up to Tucker Road and Hathaway Road intersection finally. And so our water main needs to be replaced there. It makes sense to coincide with the MassDOT project. We could wait, but it's going to cost us a lot more money in a couple of years when it has to be done. So it makes sense to move forward with it now. The water treatment upgrades in pump stations, this is primarily, so you've heard us talk about we need a new sewer treatment plant. And I think one of the things that we need to clarify is when we say new sewer treatment plant, we do not mean build a new sewer treatment plant in somewhere else in town. That is likely to be a significant rehab of what's there and expansion. And so we fully designed an aeration project that would be part of the upgrades for a new sewer treatment plant. We have 100% design. We've also received a couple $100,000 in grant funds to pursue the construction of that. That's estimated to be about a $7 million project, and that is something that we can move forward with now. It'll allow for greater capacity, greater efficiency in the plant, and it just makes sense to do it now. Costs are only going to increase of that portion of the project. It'll also help to decrease the cost of the total plant that's going to be done likely, you see in here, 2031, 2032 timeframe. So those are the two near-term projects paid directly out of the enterprise funds. Then you have just general water treatment upgrades. This consists of a lot of different water projects. They have valves that need to be replaced. We have we have an issue with a couple of our wells where we actually could be pumping those wells, but the pipe size isn't big enough to have multiple wells on at the same time. And so we need to upgrade the size of those pipes because right now we can't have two of the specific wells running at the same time because the pipes aren't big enough to get to the treatment plant. So those are some of the upgrades that are included in that project. And then the wastewater treatment plant, as I was mentioned. And then as we get into 2035, we have general infrastructure repairs that need to be made across the board. We have some of these tanks that you see. In order to rehab and paint one of those tanks, it's about $3 million. And we have several of those tanks throughout town. We want to make sure we're keeping up with those. And then just general, infrastructure. We have significant portions of line that need to be replaced or going to need to be replaced. So that's tied into that general $20 million there.
Good question. So you hear, when you're listening to different public meetings in different contexts, that the capacity of our wastewater treatment plant is an impediment to new growth. We're adding on charges to different developments because they would overtax our system. We're talking about a 5-year horizon for starting that?
So we've started.
What is the consequence of waiting 5 more years, and is it possible at all in any way to expedite the design process or whatever
Yeah.
precursors go to starting construction?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the 2031 would be construction, right? This would be the year that we borrow for construction. Building a new wastewater treatment plant is incredibly comprehensive, and so Phase 1 is actually called a Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan. That's required by the state, DEP, and we bid that out in the fall. We had 2 respondents, and we just awarded the contract today to complete that process. That's about a 2-year process, and primarily made up of all the data they have to collect, but also it then has to be adopted by the state. So we anticipate between now and 2 years is we get that completed, and then it's approved by the state. Then we move into actual design phase. You can anticipate design phase being about a year and a half to fully, design bid documents, and then we would move into construction phase. And so you're looking at, it's 2026 now. We're going into fiscal 27, so I'm going to call it early 27. You're in 29 before you start design. You're in 30 when you finish the design. So you'll likely go for borrowing in 31. So that is unfortunately. These are things that maybe should have been done previously, but we are expediting it now. And the wheels don't turn super quick, unfortunately. But that's why I really think there's an emphasis on the aeration project, the $8 million project up there, because it gives us some capacity, it creates efficiencies, and it's going to be part of whatever we do anyways. And so not only does it keep that, we know construction costs continue to rise. So if we can take an $8 million portion out of that, and do it at today's value, it's only a win and create the efficiencies.
I highly agree with that, Cody.
Can I follow up on that with respect to the capacity discussions? So at the meeting this morning where the wastewater RFQ was awarded to go into fee proposal, there's a lot of conversation about capacity with respect to betterment fees that were paid, unhooked, that have to be considered capacity encumbered, if you will. A lot of discussion with if in fact they have to quote unquote overbill because they have to take that betterment capacity into effect, which is what you're hearing is we're over capacity because the betterments that were paid to hook up. Now, DEP or some of the conversations are you don't have to consider that capacity when building. And yet when someone comes in and says, wait a minute, now I want to hook up, well, now we don't have capacity, yet you've already paid the betterment. So there's a lot of discussions about those kinds of opinions, those legal opinions. DEP has their opinions. So I think the capacity issue is an important one that should be kind of clarified moving forward.
Yeah, the capacity issue is complex, incredibly complex. Where our current and short-term capacity issues are more with our pump stations than the plant. The plant is really up there. It's getting up there. So I don't mean to diminish that, but the significant issues are our pump stations. Pump stations were designed only for a specific amount of flow in certain areas. And so certain areas with some of these larger developments are going to push the flow of those pump stations beyond what they can do. And that's really the more imminent challenge that we're facing. And then does that push our treatment plant over on certain days? And so the way that we view capacity at the sewer treatment plant isn't the way you typically would view capacity of something. You would think, okay, we can treat X amount of gallons per day. We're currently at average 60, let's say we can treat 100 gallons a day. We're at 60. That means we have 40 gallons a day. No, the DEP doesn't view it that way, and that's how we have to view it. They take a rolling average of a year long, and 80% is actually your threshold. So you don't go over 100%. Anytime you go over 80% of the treatment plant's capacity, they flag that as you've gone over. And so they then look at how many times you went over in a year, and if it reaches a certain threshold, they basically say, okay, you have to upgrade your sewer treatment plant. There are days where we go over now, And obviously, that'll go up as we add these projects.
Especially with the
But
rain.
the average is.
rainwater.
But the average, and that's why I think there's maybe some frustration. People have asked, well, how much capacity do we actually have left? And it's not a straightforward answer of, we have 20% capacity left, because it changes. When we have a lot of rainfall, for instance, that we typically go over our capacity, because you have I&I that goes into the plant and it goes in. So it's really complex. But it is a concern, but the short-term concern is the pump stations.
Do we have any plan at all, or, maybe a plan going forward in the next few years as far as public education regarding all of these projects and the amount of money? I mean, it is a good rate through that fund if we're able to borrow through that, but looking at some of the potential increases on water and wastewater, I mean, people are kind of already up in arms with recent increases, and then those are very significant. And I mean, not that it's a town thing, but other utilities, gas, electric, we're getting whacked there too. And I feel like every time you turn around, you're getting hit in the wallet. And when these increases that are proposed for, water and sewer come on, it's just going to be like a massive outcry. And if we can kind of get ahead of it and say, these are the reasons why, and what we're trying to do to mitigate things for the future, I think that might help to kind of ease the burden, or at least give awareness for the future.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get information out and be as transparent as possible. I mean, hence why we're starting with this. We did this at a select board meeting, we're doing it at a finance committee meeting. There's no perfect way, because I'll say we did the public workshops in the fall, and combined of the 3 workshops, I think we had about 20 people attend. And then you say, okay, well, they're recorded. People must be watching them on YouTube. They're not. They have maybe a couple hundred views collectively, and it's been about 6 months. So, and I'm not saying that we can't do more. We will do more. But we're up against a challenge. I mean, I'll give you the example. We talked about quite in depth about the mid-year rate increase that we were going to have to incur as of January 1st. We talked about it at these meetings. We talked about it at select board meetings. We talked about it at Board of Public Works meetings. We did videos on it. We posted information on our website. I can't tell you the amount of people we've gotten. We had no idea this was happening.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, and that's why I say, if anyone has ideas, like we don't claim to know everything.
People still don't realize that. They switched to quarterly billing.
Yeah, right.
So when they got their recent bills, there was a giant outcry, because I don't know what the secret is to communication in this town, unless you plan to do a door-to-door knocking campaign.
They don't answer the door.
Well, that's true. Oh, my God.
But we do want to give as much advance notice as possible, and I think that's why we're doing these things. We're doing the Citizens Academy. It all ties back, because these are the things we're going to talk about in the Citizens Academy, and hopefully get people to understand, oh, wow, there's actually a reason for this. Like, the town isn't just being frivolous. There's a real reason why we have to raise rates. And word of mouth is probably one of the best communication methods we have. So we start with a group of 25 people in the Citizens Academy. They go home, tell their friends, their family, and then it's a chain reaction where hopefully at least people get a little bit more interested, and then maybe watch those videos. And I don't know, maybe I'm naive.
One of the
in
other
thinking
things
that.
too, I was here yesterday at the clerk's office, and I was looking at the sample ballot, and there are so many town meeting member spots that are open, and people just don't, sign up to run for these spots. And, if you want to have a say in town,
I know.
just join the town
Sad,
meeting.
isn't it?
It is.
It's much better to complain on Facebook,
It's only twice a
Patrick.
year,
So is.
I think a key, I mean, just in terms of public outcry over the magnitude of the rate increases, I think, and this goes back to what you guys had told us earlier, is when we had a period of time when there was, 6 years of no rate increases, we can't do that. Like, we have to, you avoid shock if you can gradually keep things level. I would rather have my bill go up 2.5%, 3% a year consistently than all of a sudden in the year 2026, I'm getting a 13% hike, right? So making sure that we're keeping a close eye on that and having consistency over the course of time is better than spikes, right? And I mean, the bills are all coming due at the same time, so we're gonna have spikes, is the unfortunate reality. But trying to find a way to even out the growth over a long period of time is, in my mind, the better way
It would be
to.
great to figure out a way to do that, like just the suggestion that you made about, this is what it costs today, this is what it's gonna cost in 5 years. It helps people understand, and I think even town meeting members, I'm thinking about one of the meetings that we had where somebody stood up and said, why can't the DPW fix the high school roof? I know why they say that, but it's because they really don't understand what's involved. They question, they compare these buildings to their own houses. My house
That's
is
the
over
biggest thing.
100 years old. Why did we have to do this with these? It's little by little to educate people and explain to them. And it would be great for all of us even to have the bullet points, the talking points, like this is, so that when people ask us questions, one of the reasons I ask is, people ask me a question, I'd like to answer it,
Yeah, the idea for this is, once this rolls out, when it does roll out, is to keep debt service pretty flat. Not only for the rates for water and sewer, but if we do a borrowing, we don't want to have, we're putting 2 or 3 projects on it, it looks like, Mount Everest. We want to have things that go along, and, I mean, as it comes down, obviously, we have a little debt now, so you see that big slope downward. But the idea is to have the somewhat level going forward, so that it's an easier impact on the residents. That's
So
really
the
what they're
10.5
looking
and,
for.
the 10,000,005 in 2027 is going to be for ratepayers only. And do we have a percentage of ratepayers?
Which one was that, Deidre? 10 million?
Percentage of residents that are ratepayers?
Yes.
First two?
I mean, we do, but it's different for each, right? So some people in town only have water and don't have sewer, some have both. And so we can look and see like parcels based on how many accounts. So for instance, we have about 9,500 water accounts. So, we have a rough idea of water, we can look at sewer. Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect to the decimal point, but we can give an average.
So the
Deirdre, I'm
first,
sorry, just want to clarify, it's the first two items on the chart that you added together?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, no, because
10,500,000.
there was some confusion at the other end of the
Oh, you're
table.
looking for the,
So I'm rolling debt in my head, saying, all right, so if we're paying 900,000 on 14 million, and then, so I'm just doing data in my head. So we're gonna do 10,500,000 next year for the enterprise funds for ratepayers only, of which some percentage is water and some percentage is sewer. And
So
then,
this shows you the debt service by year. This is just water enterprise fund. So that first slide was water and sewer. This is just the water enterprise fund based on those projects. So if we borrow the 2.5 million, you can see the debt service on that's about 278,000. That would result in a 4% rate increase to cover those payments. Then you can see in 2030, you have the water treatment, and that is 15.1% rate increase. Again, that's if you didn't do anything over time to make up for that. That's the rate that you would need at that year to pay just for the debt service going forward. So to Nate's point, ideally, you don't wait. And so when we look at, and Gary and I have already begun this for July, what is the rate percent increase needed to cover the operating budget? What is the percent needed to cover capital? And we'll describe those as separate, but essentially it's going to be one rate increase. So we may be saying, okay, we need a 7% rate increase to cover operations, and then we need to buffer another 3% to start building capacity for our capital projects and/or debt as we go forward. And so that, we want to make sure we do that strategically. And then in 2035, an additional 3.5% for that additional infrastructure. And like the general fund, that starts to drop off, and obviously the debt service payments fall. So go to the next slide.
So I was gonna ask, refresh my memory, it's probably been mentioned before, this is residential, what would be the average, say, water bill of a resident in a town? I know
That's
this,
all over the map.
I can imagine, but I'm just trying to,
Yeah, I'd have to get you,
My water bill, everybody in
I'd
this
have to
room
get you
go
revised
laugh.
data, because I don't have it since we've gone to quarterly and with the increased rate. So when we did the increased rate, we were basing it off of the twice-a-year billing, and then basically split, took an average annual and divided that by 4. So I don't have that right now, but when we go forward, that we'll certainly get
talk
that.
about increases, I'm just trying to put what the base might be, and then how much of an impact that would be.
Yeah, the
average
rates,
resident.
it's a good point, and we want to do that, and we've had requests for that. The only concern is, like Janine said, water bills and sewer bills are very different. And so you have some people, so the average may not accurately depict
No, I don't
an
know what the
average.
average would be when I see what people posted over the last
Some on
frenzy
water,
on
some on-
Facebook. It was, some of those bills were like,
You have some on.
I was shocked.
So we can do that. What we thought
With
a
teenagers.
better tool is to provide what that % increase would be, so then you can actually take your bill
Yeah. And
and say, okay, right now I pay $200. I know, looking at a 4% increase, now my bill is going to be $208. So, and we'll do calculators and things like that.
That's useful for people.
It's hard with
There's a
with
lot of
rates.
variables in getting the average for water and sewer.
But that question might be asked.
It's
Oh,
good-
yeah, yeah.
It has been, and we'll plan to have some example with the caveat. Take it for what it is.
Terry?
A couple of years ago, for people who are not on town sewer, the Title V regs were changing, and people were very worked up about that. The town did some workshops on it. Has there been any planning? At that time, I know that people were talking about trying to figure out a way to pull those people into the water planning and have them pay some fee, kind of general fee, to have them buy in, so that then the town could help them when they have to replace their septic systems. Has that just dropped off the radar because that's not?
No, we're still aware of it. We have
Yeah.
conversations. The problem we've discussed behind the scenes is we don't know if we'd have the buy-in. We probably wouldn't have the buy-in because it would be, 'cause the cost is significant. It really is significant. And if you're not forced to do it, people
Right.
don't want to spend the money.
When I think about long-term planning, we don't have town sewage down there as an
my side
improvement,
down.
you know, to expand it at all.
Yeah.
We don't have, well, I don't have water either.
Okay,
I'm awful
thanks.
good on.
Yeah, no, I mean, what the options now, if you wanted to expand sewer, is you can either petition everyone who it would affect in the expansion. You need at least 2/3 of those that are affected. It then goes to the select board. The select board essentially requests the DPW engineer it and get a cost estimate. And then they can petition to appropriate the money through betterment. And it would be paid through betterment, but we still would have to essentially borrow or appropriate the money. Or residents can work with DPW through the same petition process and basically pool their resources and pay for their own design and then pay for their own construction.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been communities where, same as Dartmouth, some residents are on water and sewer, some residents aren't. And it was proposed that those residents that weren't on water and sewer pay the bill, and it got
I
very,
can see
very
that
ugly.
getting ugly.
I'm sorry,
who
they
live-
were asked to pay the bill when they
We're
didn't
actually
have
sharing the
water or
service.
sewer?
Yes, there have been communities in Massachusetts and across the country, really, that have, it's gone down that road where they've, because they're tapping from the same aquifer, the argument was made, and it's, from the studies that I've done, it's really gone nowhere.
Yeah,
People who
I can
live
see
in
that happening.
Dartmouth Woods, is it called?
Yes.
Pay water sewer. They all pay water sewer. with
Where is that,
with
Terry?
their-
Dartmouth Woods on Route 6.
People who
Dartmouth
rent
Woods, up
apartments,
on
so
Route
you're paying
6.
$2,000 a month for rent, and then you're paying water, sewer, you're paying electric. I think context is good for people to know what people are spending. So I was part of that change when sewer got put into over by UMass, because I had to go through the betterment process, and it makes me think about future planning for something like that, you know? That was a reaction. I mean, it's good that it didn't follow through, and everybody had to do something about it, but it was kind of scary when we were talking about it.
Yeah. I think those conversations will likely excel once we have a definitive plan for our treatment plant. The town doesn't have much of an appetite to extend right now due to, we don't really have capacity. And also in the pump stations, we're looking at, with a lot of places where we're looking to extend, you're either looking at new pump stations or upgrading the pump stations that are there. Yet the challenge with that being, if you upgrade a pump station as a result of an additional development, we cannot just charge that developer for that upgrade cost.
But you could negotiate that before they build. You could say,
You can, but they can tell you no. And the only
Yeah.
legal requirement is that they pay their portion. And that's the challenge that we faced. And so
I
then.
think about that a lot. And I wondered, somebody at the candidates night said that we should be taxing people who own the complexes as a business. What did that mean? Is that
A commercial rate instead of
way up.
Is that a
residential?
possibility?
Yeah, no.
No.
So, we've had this conversation with the assessor's office, and the way they're taxing them now, like the unit on, is it Amelia too?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Delano.
Amelia, too.
Delano
Yeah,
Apartments,
so,
yeah.
the way that they're taxing is, they're not, they're all individual units, you know? And I think there is a petition right now in Mass General Law to change that, to go, because we're losing money on this, on the value. The comment that was made was, and it's a valid one, you know, we've got this large commercial property valued at, I think the example was given, let's say it's $1 million. And if you split that up into, let's say, I think the example was three family homes, the total of those family homes would be a lot more than $1 million.
Yep.
So the argument is, well, the towns and cities in Massachusetts are losing revenue because of that. you know.
Right.
So, yeah, we've
Across the board.
discussed that, we've actually had the Board of Assessors, but that would take change at the state level to make that adjustment, you know? But they do pay, you know, Terry's right, that if you're paying $2,000 rent, you've got the utilities that go along with that, you've got a lot of additional costs.
I hope that whatever negotiating can be done upfront is being done. I don't know how the process works, but when people come in to get permits and sit down and start having conversations, I hope people are saying, well, you know, if you put this amount in, it would make it a lot easier for neighbors.
We have those conversations, unfortunately.
Doesn't-
Developers know that they
Okay.
are not
They
forced
don't
to,
have to do it.
and they take advantage of that situation. And so it's a challenge that we faced, and we have a hard time swallowing it too, because if we have to upgrade a pump station, for instance, we don't want to have to say, okay, this new complex is only going to account for 20% of the flow through that pump station.
Right.
Everyone else who's already been here is 80%. Now we assess betterments to everybody?
Right.
I know if I were, you know, you're not going to be happy about that.
No, no.
No.
So can I just clarify something from my own understanding? You were talking about Dartmouth Woods. I heard you say the Amelia. So those are all rental units, correct? I know Amelia's rental units. Dartmouth Woods is all rental
Or
units.
No,
So,
they're rental.
Oh, yeah, they're rentals, yeah.
rental, they're not condos, they're
Yeah,
not
rental.
owned by.
Yeah, they're rentals, yeah.
Right, they're all rental units. So the person who manages or owns that property is charged residential
Yeah.
tax rates? Is that what you're saying? Because they're rental units, not
I'm looking at
condos.
Amelia right now.
Well,
It's based on the use, it's residential
Yeah,
use.
yeah, no, it's residential
Even
use.
though
I
it's a
get that.
commercial piece of property, it's a commercial venture,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah.
not
It's a
taxed
tough one.
commercially. It is a,
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one, you know, because you look at it from a landlord,
Yeah.
It's just gonna go up.
If it's
first of all, you know you can't charge your tenants for
So,
water.
so there's some
You can't charge your
confusion.
tenants for water.
If it's apartments, rental apartments are taxed commercial.
Okay.
Condominiums are taxed residential.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but if it's a
then-
condo unit,
Because you own a condo, you're not part of a rental.
So then those are taxed commercial, not,
Correct.
oh.
So Dartmouth Woods, Amelia are taxed commercial.
If they're if they're rentals.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's
Oh,
what.
pop-
That seems opposite. Okay.
Yeah, that changes.
Now I know why I was confused.
Yeah, that changes
if it's
everything.
condo, then it's,
Your
Right, but-
condo would be residential.
Right, because it's.
That
not-
makes more
right,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because they own it.
So if you look at the assessor's database,
Makes
for
sense.
instance, any rental unit is classified as commercial property.
Okay.
Gary, do you remember a few years ago, you came up and did when you were the collector, you did an educational piece for the finance committee, and the assessors did the same thing? It might be good to
Yeah.
set that up in the future for the finance.
Yeah,
There's
new
enough people
people.
that have changed over to explain.
yeah,
how that
the
works.
assessor's office did a pretty good job at their, select board meeting.
Yeah.
When they set the rate, they gave a pretty good, I don't know what date that was
That was a
November.
while-
November timeframe,
Yeah, maybe December or early January, but we can share that with the finance committee.
yeah.
So this is the same scenario, just based on the sewer enterprise fund. You can see the rate increases provided. Obviously, that huge spike, which is 32%, is based on the new sewer treatment plant. And like we said, we would look to not have to do that all in one year. That would be, hopefully do increases year over year. That's it.
We've had so
Questions?
many. Do we
I
have
know
more?
we have, yeah.
Have people floated how much money would be needed to make if an override was gonna happen? Have people talked about at all, like in the budget advisory group, what would you have to ask for? to make it work so.
Now,
we're
we're
not-
just in the process of starting to do that now.
They have?
Sorry, no. Well,
We
in
talked about
real
it
round
briefly.
terms. But it's going to have to come, but I don't think it's going to come this year. I guess we could guess.
So at the time that it's gonna come, we also have to identify what the cost is if it doesn't pass. Would the Budget Advisory Group be doing that?
Yeah, I think we would have to eventually say what happens if you do and what happens if you don't.
I
Of course, otherwise,
That would be,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who's going to vote for an override if they don't know what it's for or what the repercussions are?
yeah, agreed.
No, exactly, but who, I was wondering who
It
decides.
would be us.
So
It would be
Budget
well,
Advisory.
we would, I would anticipate what we would be doing is isolating that as an issue, and then we would task somebody in the administration.
Because this could be the cost of a whole department.
Sorry?
The Youth Advisory Commission was on the board a few years ago because we were in such trouble. And people kept it and they moved it down to half-time, but a whole department could go away, whatever.
More
is
than a
not
whole,
essential.
I mean, yeah, it could be, yeah, exactly.
That's very true.
Yeah,
Right, it's kind of hard to predict at this point in time if we
Yeah,
don't
I think
look at
it's
things
still,
more closely.
but I think we have to do something
we
like
will,
that. But
no
it's early
doubt.
days right
It's
now.
preliminary.
We've only been doing this since
Looking from,
Right.
beginning,
Yeah, no,
mid-January.
let me
The only point that I would
double check.
make is, and I know I'm the new person here, but we've talked about, going through I went through actual line item by line item by line item with every single line item in budget. But we've talked about regionalization. What more can we, regionalize? And thank you very much for forwarding the regional agreement for the vote. That was really great. And it's always wonderful to see those things because they're typewritten and they got arrows and things like that. So thank you for that. But we talk about regionalization, and then we figure out what we can do there. And then we talk about consolidation, and we say, all right, what can we do there? All right?
Yes.
We talk a little bit about the fire departments and what can we do there. And then the only place to go after consolidation is elimination. And that's kind of, a 0.5 youth cohort. Elimination is pretty big. Elimination is like co-teaching grades 1 and 2 for the school
But
department.
it's none of our business in terms about, I think in terms of elimination.
But my point was, if you're discussing the bag or whatever moving forward for override conversations, then that's kind of where you're.
All the elements, I mean, there's essentially 4 options.
no, that's why I was making that
What's
gesture.
up on yours?
So anyway, that's kind of my point, is you're
brought it up.
moving forward to
No, we
elimination.
could just add it to his job
Just as a
description.
point, I want to clarify,
Unless you want to type.
Gary and I were incorrect. Rental units are taxed at a residential rate.
okay, so that's a problem to me.
So
Wait,
the assessor's
so-
database has it as commercial, but the tax bill actually goes
Is
out
that
as
a law?
residential.
Is that a law or is that a,
Yeah.
I presume it's a law, yeah.
okay.
Okay, so we're back to it's
So it
taxed
is
as
all
residential.
of those are resident, taxes
I
residential.
can see why people would think that's unfair, because somebody is profiting from that for sure.
Absolutely, and
Investment firm.
there'd be a fair argument for it to be commercial, because they're not, unless they're living on, but even if they're living on the property, they are profiting off of it. I mean, that's the only reason why they do it. They don't do it because they want
Most
to,
of the developers are not that I'm probably not living there.
somebody's profiting off of it. They're not doing it because they really care to get people off the streets. I mean, unless it's a nonprofit.
Business people, Gary, of course they're gonna.
Right, exactly.
Money on office buildings.
This is capitalism.
You know,
That was very helpful,
yeah, it was.
but we still don't know how much we'd be asking for.
No.
In an operational override, I mean, no, not officially, no.
And I agree with what they were saying at the Budget Advisory Group, that it needs to be a town override. It cannot
Yeah.
be schools versus town. It
No.
It
doesn't
has to
work.
be, yeah, we have to point
Whole
out
town.
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
both
Agreed.
constituents
amount
of
of
the
money?
budget.
You can't ask for 2 million, because then you'll be
Well,
going back in another year.
That's right.
Well, that's the key. We talked about being, sustainability. Just, we've got to look at this as a multi-year, issue. I mean, if we're looking at 2% this year, then you would assume that there's an escalation clause to that.
So there would be a strategy on when and how much to use overrides for.
Yeah.
And it might be 2 or 3 overrides, but as we discussed in one of our meetings, I don't know if it was here, there is a possibility you can lump them all and explain that they wouldn't all be enacted at the same time, and it would be spread out over a certain amount of time. But you're going to have to we have to come up with a number.
Her laptop.
That's why
We
it's
do, and
yeah,
I
look,
think
it's
the
doing
reason
it
I
all
ask
screwed
is
up.
that we have to get started, because
displaying.
say the school district's gonna use their school choice money to balance out their
No,
budget
it's
this year.
No.
There's gonna have to be a request
PC.
for an override next
No,
year.
it's almost
We're
like
gonna-
it's
People are
this.
gonna have to start working
Oh,
on
I
it
need this.
right
Yeah, of
now.
course,
I
of
know,
course.
I have one
But-
now that you could try.
So we have, we're in the process now of putting together, the BAG group is putting together recommendations and what we've accomplished so far and what we plan to get into going forward, along the lines of what you just described. But it also includes a communications program,
that's why I tried different
a whole bunch of different things, which will be, which we have to, which we have to present to the select board sometime, I don't know when. What, in about 8 weeks or?
Yeah, around there, before town meeting ideally.
I don't think that's broken.
You don't think
I
so?
guarantee
Yeah,
it.
So
'cause
we're
the
working on it
select board's
now.
gonna have to make the
Display in
decision.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely would not be an override this year.
No,
for
I
next-
know that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
even if it's next year.
Next
it has to
fiscal year.
start now.
Yeah,
Can't
well,
wait.
we agree.
May not have one next year either.
And
I
that's,
do have one quick question. Who would be tasked with figuring out, like, those numbers?
We would provide the facts, and
Okay.
that would be it. It's those
And who-
grassroots campaigns that have to work on it. We cannot use, like, we can't even use a town room to have a meeting for it, because technically
For
that
an
would be,
override.
yeah, because that would be
Copy
public
machine,
facilities.
pencils,
It's campaign finance law
I
is what you're
guess
getting
that's my
into.
question then, like,
In
who?
terms-
Your PTOs,
Yeah.
you get a
PTOs,
group
yeah.
of PTOs, PTGs, they
The
run the
select
thing.
board can't,
They
Bring
can,
that.
The select board makes the decision. To
put it on the ballot.
recommend an override.
oh, to put it on the
When they
ballot?
say they're recommending it, do they say they're recommending it for a certain amount?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so they,
They
they
will,
they
okay.
they
But I'm
do
asking,
not,
who figures out that amount?
They do not provide a recommendation
Oh.
necessarily.
Okay.
All the select board can do is put it on the ballot,
To
propose
say
it.
there's an override.
Yep, here's
There's
the
gotta
override,
be
and here, and here's the amount. We would provide the facts of, here's what it's for, here's what the
That's what
average
I'm
impact
asking.
would be. However,
here's why we need it.
yeah, here's why we're doing it. If we do this, this is what it funds.
Okay.
You actually can't even say, like on the ballot, you cannot say, if this does not pass, we lay off 20 teachers. You cannot say that. You have to put it
No.
as, this would fund 20 positions at Dartmouth Public Schools.
Has to
Okay.
be all factual.
But
Okay.
you could communicate prior to that what the consequences.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah.
We could, the bag could
Impact
somehow.
list.
of just, this is what it would fund, and this is what
And
happens.
here are the consequences if you don't fund it.
But does the select board need to make that decision this year? Because a committee's not gonna form unless they're recommending it.
I think that the select
That's
board
what I'm
would
thinking.
likely look to see that the BAG take the initiative on that, the Budget Advisory Group. I think
Yeah.
we talked about this recently. We've created a lot of boards and committees lately, which is good. But we don't want a lot of overlapping and intersections, so.
Right, but we want action. You know,
Yeah.
one of the things that was
I completely
frustrating
agree.
me Monday night is feeling like, oh my God, we're gonna do another year, 4.5 for the
So-
schools, and then what? You know, it
One
it
of,
just
one of our,
Fall town meeting, you've got to
No,
be
I think-
rocking
I
on the
think
One of our-
override.
I think spring, I think before the end of the year.
I can't
they
see
need
it getting
I
on
don't know
for
the
spring.
timing yet, because we haven't had,
No,
we
I
haven't
don't think
had,
she means on the spring. I think she means form
Not
that
the
group.
override.
Oh.
But in order to form a group to
Yes.
start working on it.
Spring.
You can't wait until the fall. That's
No.
oh,
just-
that is going to be the point to get a reaction on what the BAG initially recommends to the select board, okay? And that has to happen in, what did we say,
Yeah, right,
8
for the
weeks
next month or so. I
Right.
think what Budget Advisory Group should do is, here's what we're looking at this year, here's the
Right.
budget consensus that we've come to as
Right.
representatives of each of these groups. But next year, we recommend that the select board consider an override.
Right.
If that's
Okay.
what,
That's,
I'm
that's
using that as
what-
an example.
That's what it has to say. And on top of that, for each one of those things, I think we have to request, or I'm going to be requesting, that there's got to be a group or a person or whatever, say we're talking about consolidation or whatever we recommend, that's responsible. And that I'm going to be asking that there are due dates, responsibilities, and who's going to review them to make sure that we actually get the benefits of doing consolidations or get the benefits of cost reduction or whatever.
I still, though, I'm hearing them make a recommendation next year for the override. Can't they make a decision this year for next year? Say, we're gonna deal with the budget this year. We think that it makes sense for a committee to form to consider an override for $12 million, whatever it is that they say. They could do that this year. And then we would know, okay, get working.
This year is what? This fiscal year coming up, 27?
No, I'm not suggesting that the override happen this year. I'm suggesting that the decision
Yes.
to recommend the override for this amount of money be made by the select board now, because if it isn't, we wait and we wait and we wait. We get more people, you know, it just goes on for another year.
I would envision that when we make our initial report, these sort of things will come up, and we will make a statement to the fact that, yes, and this is the bag, yes, indeed, an override is needed, and we have to start working on that now. And then we have to get to the details of what it would look like when we have some kind of strategy that incorporates all this other stuff along with an override going forward. Again,
So then, should the finance committee make a recommendation in their letter, for example, to the town meeting now?
I-
know
based
we
on
haven't
what,
voted
though?
on this.
I don't know if you can make a recommend.
May I say something?
Yes.
I think it would be more prudent, Terry, if the Budget Advisory Committee formulated something, and then if they wanted to, it should be probably also prudent would be presenting it to us.
Yep.
And then presenting it down the road to the select board. I think it should come from them. Well, that's, you and I can disagree, but I think
Yeah,
there should
we
be.
disagree, yeah.
Well, that's fine.
I
But I
would-
think there should be a way to do it. I think it should be coming from the,
I would envision, once we get this thing in a plan that we present to the select board, that has things in it like overrides, what the amount would be, what the amount would be required, when we should start doing it. We would have to make presentations to this group. We would have to make presentations to the school committee. We'd have to obviously make presentations to the select board.
So the
And that would
finance
start the
committee
diet.
could say, in general, there's a need for this
It's not
action
going
to happen.
It's not going to be
No?
in general. It's going to be that we need an override,
Right, but
or two, or
Gotta
three.
put the data charts in there, and you gotta lead them to the water.
So I'm not-
You know
I'm
what
not-
I mean?
I'm not
I
understanding.
understand
You gotta
what
lead 'em to
everybody's
the
saying.
water.
The concern that I have is we have 3 committees now thinking about this, okay? We think about it, we think about it, we think about it, we think, you know, well,
No,
let's
no, we're
get,
not-
no,
You're
we
not
need to
wrong.
make a
But
decision
the
about
Budget
whether we're
Advisory
gonna
Group
do
is
it.
absolutely moving in that direction. It's on our agenda to be able to talk about this.
Yes, and
We're going
there's
there.
no, I don't see anybody on this group so far that has an objection to doing an override. It's just trying to develop how big it should be, when we should do it. Should it be 3 of them strategically placed in addition to all this other stuff that's up here that we have
So then
here?
how
It's just
about on the
data points.
finance committee?
What?
Would the finance committee be comfortable saying, supporting an override?
Yes, well, that's why I was saying that if
Okay.
when we finish this plan, I would urge
To support
that
the
we come in
override, the
and we
warrant
make a
articles.
presentation to the select board. We make it, well, we already have to do that, but we make a presentation to the school committee, to this group, explain it, get more information out, and take your advice. And then you guys, if you agree with what we put up, and we are open to making changes, you guys can then run with it in terms of how
Coming
you.
on you, Brian.
What?
So, if I may, I'm
Well, you
sorry
know
to
I'm not-
interrupt.
I'm not bashful about,
Sorry to interrupt.
okay,
But
yes.
definitely not on the agenda to have this big discussion, not to slow it
No,
down,
but-
Terry, I apologize, but
Yep, you're
I
right.
think we have 10 more minutes in this room.
Yes.
Good job.
let's get on to the really interesting thing about
you're
it.
right,
It's
Janine.
not exciting,
Gotta get out of here 'cause I got another meeting.
definitely not getting done tonight, apparently.
Okay. Good job, Janine.
Well, it's certainly a good discussion, but
It is.
would be better if it was actually on the agenda and we had a little bit more background information.
Well, once,
Please,
Yeah, we've got to,
all I was gonna.
Please, I beg of you.
No, all I was gonna say is, as we get more information and we get through the select board, we'll come and make all the.
Handbook time.
anyway, okay, we have 11 minutes.
Let's see how far we go. We can get there.
We can get, thanks to Terry, who did some of this background work, thank you very much.
Sorry about that. No, you're right, Janine, it wasn't listed as an item on the agenda.
You know, definitely a worthy discussion. Anyway, I know I didn't send this rough draft out after I took Terry's notes and pulled it all together. But I did some combination of it.
Yeah.
How about that?
So we can see what's in red. This is based on the notes that came from the town moderator. Can you see it?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
No, I know, because I have it on the screen. All right, all right. Better?
Yeah.
All right, come on, we don't have to look at Terry's notes. We'll look at Terry's notes if they're relevant. Okay, better? So what's in red is what's up for additions, just so you know. I don't think there'll be a lot of discussion. So this was a good sentence, Terry, that you added, because we hadn't really mentioned that separate handbook. As everybody here probably knows, there's a handbook that was put out by town administration that's specific to the boards, committees, et cetera, that are separate than the finance committee because they're appointed by select board, whatever, and we're appointed by the town moderator. So that's just that, and that will be a hot link to that particular
No, it's just-
handbook.
I'll have it. You can take it out.
Good?
No one's answering.
Everybody can read, I'll change it after. The minor changing of the text here and any resident.
I'm sorry, Ginny, I had a comment on that first
Sure.
one. I don't like the word is intended only for the finance committee. It makes it sound like
Yeah.
we're gonna ignore the
So what do you suggest?
town board. Take the word only.
Yeah,
It is
that
intended
makes
for the
sense.
finance committee.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Right?
Good point.
Yeah, I like that.
Delete.
Yeah. Good thinking, John.
Thank you, John. Terry added, and any residents may apply, it's fine. So the question was, because the moderator didn't make any comment about this in her email in there.
No, that was just me.
No, I know
Yeah,
that
it
was you.
yeah, it
So
was
I
just-
took it as, I don't know, she didn't seem to mind that it was going directly to her. And this document can be changed at any time
Yep.
when the term ends, so,
Working document.
right.
That's on
So
the
that can
website.
stay the same, all right. There was comments made about the attendance to make sure that it includes, that we tell everybody that's also important, that they also go to the spring town meeting and the fall town meeting. That's an important part of your 75% attendance rate, consistent with other appointed committees, so.
It's
There's
not required?
flexibility in that if somebody needs to be out there longer for a good reason, they need to speak to the moderator, and they
Correct.
could perhaps do Zoom.
The town meetings are finance committee meetings. We
Correct.
have to.
Well, that's why
So-
this says this, and anyway, she made the comment that that should be clearer.
Right,
Are town
I get it,
meetings
but it
required
is a
by
meeting.
For finance committee members?
Say that?
No,
I'm sorry.
no, they're not.
Aren't, so town meetings, like the town meetings, we're not required to go to?
Yes,
You are, but
as
you have
finance
to
committee
want to be a
members, yes.
town meeting member.
Oh,
Yeah.
but I'm required to go to town meeting?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
But
it's,
not to be a town meeting member.
Okay.
you don't have to be a town meeting member, but,
But you do have to go to town meeting in case anybody has questions.
because we sit on stage.
And it's posted as a meeting.
Well, right,
For us.
I just read that as okay, sorry.
Yeah,
We've
that's
had
why,
people
that's
on
why
the-
it was
on the
asked to be
committee who are
clearer.
not town meeting members, yeah.
And
I
if there's
didn't
an
know that
issue with attendance, obviously that can be discussed with the moderator, so, yeah. I don't take attendance, so that could be looked at by somebody else.
It's in the minutes, the record's there.
Yeah, the
We've
record.
only had a couple situations that it's been problematic. I can think about the people.
Yes.
You know, so.
Yes, that's true. But yeah, it hasn't happened in a long time at this point in time. It was requested that we align ourselves more with the other committees and go through the process of electing the chair and the vice chair annually. There's your sentence.
That's a big change, and one reason that I support it is I have thought to myself, to do the chair or to do the vice chair, you have to be in the role, and how do you do that if you do this every 3 years? If you do it every year, there's more of an opportunity for switches, so it does make sense to me to
I don't
do
have a
that.
problem with it. I mean, you probably held the chair a long time. I
I
was
did.
certainly vice chair for 3 years. So, I mean, I'm just saying,
Absolutely, and
it's
so did
been
Bob.
whatever it's been.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep,
Doesn't mean the chair or the vice chair has to change.
That's
We've got to
correct.
have an election every year.
No, yes, that's what it means. It means that we should reconsider every year.
Yep,
You know, so someone could be
yep.
chair for 3 years.
How do we do it now? We just, somebody just,
No, we do it every 3 years after town meeting. We were doing it every
It's
3
been,
years after
it's
town
been
meeting.
informal,
We don't actually
Brian.
vote,
It's been
do we?
informal,
Yes.
because when
Yeah,
I
we do.
joined, it
we
wasn't
do.
even
Yeah, we
that
absolutely
formal.
do.
So,
When Bob stepped down, we,
Bob was the vice chair,
Must have
he
been
agreed to be the
absent.
chair.
We had an election.
We did.
Yes, and it's typically held after town meeting. That's the term, yes. That's the same.
so I voted for you?
No, we actually all voted for
Maybe
you.
you didn't.
We have
With a secret
4
ballot.
4 minutes left.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
no, we got the 7.
Oh, we're good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Are we okay?
Yeah, I just talked to the
Oh,
group.
thank you.
You weren't supposed to say anything.
I know, right?
Well,
Sure it is.
Man, we gotta stay here and listen to this.
This is good. Let's get this,
let's get this,
worked out.
let's
We're
get
here, we
this.
might as well keep going with it.
Please, thank you. We can probably easily get it done in half an hour. Vice chair language had changed a little bit. There was a request for clarification that the vice chair collects, coordinates, and organizes the input of all the members at the meeting. Okay, minor in my, but some of us read this and took it for granted. I know. So now it's actually in a sentence.
So I have to do something now.
It's just in a sentence in the handbook, Carrie. That's all I can say. There was a request to change the wording on the person who manages our minutes. Contracting secretary for the committee is arranged by the administration to review meeting recordings and prepare minutes. There was confusion that it was not an item, and I don't have the older wording with me, that the wording was not such that it's not a line item in our budget. We don't have personnel.
Right, we don't decide who it is. It's really an
Correct,
administrative.
it's done by
Yeah.
someone else.
Janine, you moved too
Yes.
fast for me. The vice chair,
Oh, sorry.
so I just want to make sure there's some flexibility there. You know, that's the way we've operated since I've been on the board, the vice chair.
That's true.
Kind of, I want to say, acts as the board secretary,
Yeah.
but has taken on that role, not because it was mandated in the handbook, just because they volunteered to take on that role. And we may have a member that's better suited than a vice chair to take on that role. And I would hate to, someone who's better suited, who wants to do it, but doesn't want to be vice chair, I want to take on that role and responsibility. I just want to make sure we have that
That has
flexibility.
been an impediment for a couple of people, because they're like, I'm not doing the computer, I'm not doing that.
I think I can give an example of when Terry was chair, and I was not vice chair. I think I was asked to do that. Just saying. So
So
it's
we
been
should change
flexible.
that to say that.
As long as everybody understands that, you know, that it's,
Correct. I mean, do we want to change that wording?
So it would say, although the finance committee develops a warrant, the vice chair,
and it might discourage someone to say, I don't want to be vice chair, I don't have that skill set. I get the skill set, I get the skill set to be vice chair, but I don't have the skill set to be a letter writer or the board
So we have-
Do we
secretary.
say if no one else in the committee is willing, or something to that effect?
or, I mean, I think the point is the vice chair stands in for the chairperson and then coordinates it's the coordinates and organizes piece that's tricky, huh?
It is.
So maybe just putting the vice chair stands in for the chairperson, and then the committee determines who will collect, organize
Okay.
the warrant.
Determined too, so it might not be themselves.
Right.
That's fair. You think?
I don't have a problem with it, just writing the sentence. The concept is fine.
I'd leave out although.
No, I'm not gonna dream it up now. I'm going to just
Okay.
make a note to myself and fix it after.
I think although the finance committee develops, we could write,
Okay.
they may elect a person to do the blah, 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 blah. So after develops, it would say they may elect a person, a member, to coordinate the letter to town meeting, communications, et cetera. Anybody have any improvements to that?
I think I would start it differently. I think I would say the vice
not-
chair coordinates, or what was the other word we used? Coordinates or?
Collects, coordinates.
Coordinates / collects, the development of the warrant recommendation created by the finance committee during the meetings, or something like that.
All right.
But we're trying to separate that out.
No, the
because-
first sentence is fine, I believe. The
Yeah.
vice chair acts in the chairperson's absence, period. Is what it is. So although the finance committee develops, I don't know if although, but anyway, the finance committee
yeah, I got you.
develops the warrant recommendations, letter to town meeting, and other finance committee communications, the committee, and that's where I'm,
Yeah.
what's the rest of that sentence? The committee will determine, the committee will choose.
Yeah. Good point.
Determine, whatever, the person.
The way we
Committee vice
the way
chair
we
will-
currently do it is the vice chair acts as a note taker, and the consensus on what the letter and all the other document, and the pros and cons and agreements on how we support or not support is all done by a consensus around the table.
And what we're suggesting
So-
here, is that we remove that from the vice chair, and we say the finance committee, somebody will volunteer at the beginning of the year to say, I will take notes, coordinate, put that letter together. It will be you could call it a secretary.
Yeah, so what happens if somebody doesn't want to do it?
I'm sorry?
What happens if someone
We
does not
split it, the way
want
we
to
do it now,
Well,
honestly,
that-
Brian.
somebody
that's what
has
And
we
if
do.
that's the case, why bother even doing it? Why don't we just do it the way we currently do it?
I don't understand.
We're just trying to
So in other
cover the
words, not
sentence
have
with
a
the handbook.
secretary why do you have to have a secretary?
You
Janine,
have to have
I
somebody who's
trust
gonna
your
take the
judgment
notes
on
and put the letter together.
putting together the wording.
I mean, if you read what I wrote right now, I just
The
said-
woman who does the minutes cannot
Yeah,
do
she's
that
not.
because it's making decisions. The committee has to make decisions and
Right. It's
recommend.
not her role.
So somebody needs to be comfortable, whoever might be comfortable, putting this together on a computer.
We're talking about town meeting prep documents?
Yeah.
who will manage
Letters,
these
yeah.
projects, who will
Warrant recommendations.
do them, write them.
What if
Maybe
we,
multiple
because it's
people.
under the vice chair role, what if we left it the way that it was edited and then add another sentence, something as
Yeah, they
either the
can-
vice chair or the committee as a whole may designate another member to assist the vice chair with tasks as needed. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just add something to allow,
Designate.
yeah.
Okay, here's the sentence. The finance committee develops the warrant recommendations, letter to town meeting, and other finance committee communications. Sentence, also, I make that a separate sentence. The committee will determine by consensus who will assist as needed.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
Love it.
Better than trying to assign duties.
No, we're not
Yeah.
gonna,
Say.
no, because it could vary. It could vary
Right.
from meeting to meeting, from year to year.
Right. Good.
Gary.
Gary, is somebody
Where's the door?
welcome to join us?
I'm so excited we have a visitor.
I know, it's over here. Okay, are we good now, John? 'Cause that's-
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
I'll fix the spacing. So the contracted secretary, okay. The other part that we
Liaison.
needed to do some clarification was about the liaison role. So the sentence was added, finance committee members only attend for informational purposes and are not members of those bodies. Liaisons are observers and should participate in the same capacity as any other resident and may speak only at the discretion of the presiding chair.
You know what, though? There's two of those liaisons that are voting members, right? The Soils Board and the,
That's true, and I could put that in there. You're
Okay,
right, I have
but-
that. You're right. finance committees only attend liaisons in non-voting roles.
Yeah. Yeah. That covers both,
Yeah.
Janine, that's good.
That should
Yeah,
clarify.
that does.
So it's agriculture,
Yeah, so Terry, I noticed you made some comments in the chart. I think when I saw what you had sent me, I feel like you were working on an old Word doc, not the latest one.
oh, okay.
So I split it between voting and non-voting. If you look at the current PDF, and you had added a couple that I didn't put in here because they're not in the handbook from the town. They're not considered as boards right now. So that was charter and bylaw.
That's strange, huh?
Well, we have to refer to Cody on that as to why those are not in the current town handbook.
I'm thinking we overlooked it.
Yeah, it must have been an oversight. We can look at that.
Well, because they're only temporary.
Right, so that's why I wasn't.
Charter's only,
here.
what, every 10 years you're required to do something?
Yeah, our charter
And
review.
bylaws, I don't think there's any law that says you have to update your bylaws.
Right.
Our charter does say we're supposed to have a bylaw review committee, I think it's every 5 years.
But
It's
one
it's the
doesn't
opposite of
exist right
charter
now.
review. Well, we've tried to get it going a number of times, and I guess it was
Because, you
prior
know
to
me,
me
I
being
was
here, but
online going, is
they weren't
who's the
able to-
bylaw committee?
Weren't able to
Why
get,
weren't they able to do it? Just,
they posted several times and didn't get anyone
Nobody showed up.
to volunteer. But we're gonna, probably beginning of the fiscal year, we're gonna repost it and try to get it going.
And we can change as needed but a bylaw committee would it necessarily have a finance committee liaison? Or would it just have maybe somebody from the finance committee who served in that role?
I'd have to look at the
maybe.
charter. I don't know if
Or
it
was it just
specifies.
other people?
Off the top of my head, I'm not.
There's a need for it because we didn't volunteer, Brian. They said they needed 2 people from the
Yeah,
finance.
that's right.
Okay.
They said they needed, after they said they needed two,
Yeah.
then we volunteered.
Yeah. We didn't know what we were getting into.
No, it was very enjoyable, though.
Is that the right word?
I'm not
Asking,
saying.
never mind. Anyway, we'll add it when it comes up again, we can put it in this chart.
That's a good one, too. That's why we work as a team.
All right, so there was a request for a clarification, so I'm just looking at the notes that I have from the moderator. I think there was confusion on her part. We wrote, "Working with Select Board and Town Departments." That was the heading. And I believe it was misinterpreted because of the way she answered this. Because she said, "Working with Select Board and Town Meeting."
Oh, right.
So I
right.
think there was confusion that we were randomly working with town meeting members, and we know we don't do that.
Right.
Anyway, so that's why I changed this sentence a little bit.
Yeah.
Just said, "The Finance Committee may meet jointly with town departments, other committees or boards, or the Select Board to review budget requests and address matters related to town meeting."
Yep.
Okay.
And I put in it is usually held at the select board meeting because one time I wanted them to come to us and they said, that's not how it's done. So, okay, this is how
And I
it's
admit, I
done.
left that out because that usually gets posted by whoever does the meeting
You know what,
posting.
that's true. You're right. You're right about that.
Because, I mean, the location, doesn't matter who determines the location of my book, you know. They want to have it in the select board room, that's fine. And I know that whoever posts the meeting for us, which was likely Gary, it will be determined at that time.
They only
Janine,
do
aren't
it
we
at the school
duplicating
because,
other committees and then we single out the select board? They're another committee. Why aren't we singling out school committee? Why aren't we say, just we'll meet with other committees?
I can take that out, what does
I
everybody
mean, why
think?
are we singling out the select board?
I think the only reason, if you were to single them out, would be that technically it's their budget that
Yeah,
goes on the
no,
warrant.
I looked at it as I don't know, was respect is the right word, or, I mean, they're
Yeah,
the
yeah, I know what
governing
you mean.
body, I
Yeah.
mean, that's fine,
No, it is their budget.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's,
Okay.
that's,
That's the only
That was my
reason. I
thoughts, too.
think you could do either, but if you were to leave select board, that's,
no, that's.
Should probably
that's
put
fair.
them first. Select board and other committees.
Non-select.
Okay, John. So when we
Okay,
bring input-
girls.
So when we determine, who's going to do what roles, let's all think of John Souza. When we have to do, anything from writing letters to stuffing the envelopes. Just
Boy,
Just a suggestion.
would that be a mistake?
just a suggestion.
You'd only do that once, guaranteed.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay. I'll fix any English that's wrong there later. So this was fine, this is what it was. So there was a suggestion made under the public statements and emails section. To clarify, Finance Committee members must be careful not to discuss items which should be posted on an agenda, even if emailing between 2 or 3 members. I didn't, and I don't remember, Terry, if I changed something that you put in there, but just hold that thought, Brian,
Okay.
please. I don't think, there's a lot of words about open meeting law and such. There's a lot of reference to open meeting laws in the 160-plus page document that is our first mantra.
Yeah.
And then there's also open meeting law information in the town handbook, that's very detailed. And it's suggested later on in this document that we should always have attended at least one webinar on what open meeting law is, if you haven't been a member of another committee. And my personal opinion was just that I thought it'd been covered versus us adding a lot more about open meeting law in this paragraph.
Okay.
Brian, I'm sorry?
I was going to say, weren't we always working under the idea that if we had a quorum, you couldn't discuss things, and now it's limited to 3 people?
No, I think, I agree. I agree
know what you're
that's how we did act, but the point was made that, just thinking abstractly about the group, that if you and I are talking about something that we think should be on the agenda and we're going to make this recommendation, there should be an opportunity for the public to hear that conversation, and if it's happening by email, then they can.
And I agree with that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's saying not to discuss. If 3 of us decide to discuss something, regardless of what it is, we're not violating the state ethics rules, and we're not violating the open meeting law. So why are we putting that in there? We're not in violation.
That's
I
right.
agree, we should be transparent and do everything,
The
but
recommendation, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
John,
not
it
what state
makes
ethics and the open
common
meeting law.
sense. It makes common sense,
Right.
but
Well,
I'm not,
but that's the
I'm not
open,
the
If you,
expert on.
if we had like over 5 people or something, then you couldn't.
right, that's
as
what
a
we've always
group.
worked
Well,
against.
less than that, that was,
It
at
was
least
fine.
my understanding, when I first got on the board here, that's the way it was, the way it was.
And I think it's
I'm
just,
ignoring the conversation, I'm reading the notes that were sent.
Yeah, I think this is overly restrictive.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's the paragraph. Under Massachusetts open meeting law, a quorum of a public body may not deliberate outside of a posted meeting. Okay, we all know that. The open meeting law guide further explains that deliberation may occur through a series of smaller communications, often referred to as serial deliberation.
Right.
Just the reader. Serial deliberation can occur when members communicate in a chain or sequence, even if fewer than a quorum is included in any single message.
Ooh, that's
And
the-
there's 3 or 4 examples. I sent this to everyone.
Yep.
I'm just,
I know,
I know what you're
It does make
saying.
common sense, but that's what my understanding of why that's in there.
But that, I heard you said guide. I didn't hear you say law or statute. You said guide.
And it also says must be careful. So I think it's a perception thing.
I'm
No,
dead
no,
set
it-
against, I'm dead set against.
no, I know what you're saying. It does say may occur, can occur.
And you also use the word guide.
A member emails 2 other members expressing an opinion on a matter within the committee's jurisdiction, and those members then forward or relay that opinion to additional members. Okay, I get that's a serial thing, but I don't believe we've done it, frankly. Yes.
If you would indulge me, I have to take off in a moment, but I do
Of
want
course.
to make a request that I was going to make at the end of the meeting.
Sure.
I do want to request a chart indicating, just for our budget deliberations, indicating our budgeted FTEs for each department for FY '25, '26, and '27. And I can certainly give you more, I think you understand what I'm looking for, but
Can you say that again, Nate?
I would like, for part of our budget deliberations, I would like to get a chart that indicates our budgeted FTEs per department for FY '26, FY '25, FY '26, and the FY '27 as proposed budget.
So by FTEs, you mean when it says administration, when it says.
So I provided a
Many.
Full-time employees.
full-time employees, FTE equivalents, right? Full-time equivalents, and just department. I provided a list to Cody and Gary,
Yeah.
just sort of
We don't
indicating
need the
what.
names, we don't need the names, we
No, I
just
just
need the
want-
bodies.
Can I
How
ask
many
a question, though?
bodies?
Like, what will you do with that information? I'm just curious. 'Cause
I think
we get it, it's on the budget, it's just not in its own separate chart.
Well,
It
you get the
does-
budget, you don't get the budget doesn't have the, like, position control, we call it position control. But we can extract that data from the financial system.
We've always had to say, is this 1.5 people, is this one person? We want
And what
it
I'm,
to
what
be
I'm
clear.
specifically looking for is, from year to year, for each department, how is their, from what's budgeted, not what's actually filled, what is the FTE year over year? So for all of the various departments.
So you're looking for actuals?
No,
not-
no, I'm looking for budgeted.
Okay,
I think Cody and Gary understand what I'm looking for, and I would just like that as context for our budget deliberations.
Yeah.
We just, so let me give you some context. The reason why Nate's bringing this up is Nate had emailed us and I had just asked that it go to the committee because we just don't want to set a precedent. It's a good idea. I'm not saying it. I just don't want to set a precedent of individual members requesting individual things. While I think this is valid and warranted, I don't want something to come up in the future that maybe isn't, and then we aren't consistent with what we provide. So
No,
that's the
I
reason
agree.
why it's here.
Especially because, there's a bit of work involved in doing this.
And we've been talking about this for a long time, so.
I will say, we can certainly get it. Going forward, as part of the budget portal, it'll be in there, the budget document we're going to put together, and it'll be a lot easier for us to, it'll just be part of the annual process. But we can,
School
Yeah, we've done it
districts
before in
do
the
it
past.
as a rule
We've
because
done-
they
I've
have to
run those numbers
report
before
to
in
the
the
state.
past for the select board.
So, yeah.
So what about part-time? Will it show?
yeah, so it would show, like, if we have someone who's 20 hours and 3 people that are 40, it would be a 3.5 FTE would be for the department.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, sir.
I would like to reiterate, I think, like, making individual requests is not a good idea. I think it all should go through here, going forward. This
Oh,
is
I
fine.
agree.
Agreed.
Is that addressed in our handbook?
So I,
7 it might be, actually.
Support my request.
Page 10,
Yeah, I do.
but
I think it's important that we.
yes, certainly out of a courtesy
Right.
for the two folks that have plenty on their plate.
And I would tell those two people to push back, regardless whether it's a good idea. You did the right
Oh,
thing.
that's exactly why, yeah, it's not a matter of it's not good or bad, but we're here to support the
it should.
committee.
Should be discussed, everybody should agree, it's important information, right? Otherwise, you're gonna have 9
The same
people
way
asking
for
you
the
for
same
stuff.
purpose with common knowledge,
And I'd rather ask
and that plus and
ahead of
minus
time than the day that we're
statistical.
deliberating.
Of course. Thank you.
Right
You
context.
too.
Good night.
Okay. All right. So, back to the exciting topic at hand.
Very exciting.
What would we like to
Great,
do?
Janine, you're doing great.
Yeah, she is fabulous.
Terry, this is gonna get done. It may take the rest of my
I know.
life. We're gonna get this handbook done.
I think you should give it to the
On the
assistant,
cover.
your assistant over here.
I'm still
She's-
thinking John
she's
Souza.
supposed- yeah.
I'm still thinking John
Wait a
Souza, but, Anyway,
She's not
They
not
ask for
reacting.
input and I get,
should we
Get slammed.
yeah.
expand more on this paragraph? Should I go back to the source of the comment?
I have a real problem, to me,
I know what you're saying. I agree, because I first thought, no.
to me, it's like stifling discussion, and it's against everything that we've ever done before as a group.
I think it's a good thing to keep in mind, when we're talking, just because I think it could get, especially when we're doing a letter, for example,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I haven't seen a
Making
problem with the
decisions.
letter. I mean, you
that
know,
not everybody is weighed in on?
I think, you can say, Finance Committee must be careful when discussing items which should be posted on the agenda, but the word
There you
not
go.
should not be in there.
When,
When,
positive versus the negative,
Right.
yep.
Yeah.
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 It's much
Yeah,
more
I follow.
positive to say.
and we'll take off the rest of that sentence.
Good.
And for anybody who needs clarification, there's a million webinars on open meeting law.
Right.
Very true.
And yet still it happens, right?
Well, it's easy to get confused.
It is easy to get confused.
Well, I'm not aware that we've violated any, and certainly nobody has reported us.
Yeah.
Gary,
big
right?
stuff.
You would know that.
Gary reported it.
We
Gary
requested a
reported us.
meeting log from the Boston Globe.
Anyway, moving on. Actually, I think that was it,
You
because
each were
the rest of
comments.
this was the resources for professional development, which, that's why, Terry, I realized when I got to this that you weren't working off the right Word doc.
Okay.
Because this was all here, and there was no comments made on that.
Okay.
So is this is the final? It's not, doesn't have to go back to the moderator
It's a
for
working
review?
document.
Do we believe that this is good as it is? And
So we're not gonna put in a section on the warrant, the letter to town meeting?
well, in what respect, I guess? Because it's mentioned that it's something we do.
Yeah, it's already in the handbook.
So we don't have to, is what you're saying? My reason for doing this is that it's not given that the finance committee sends a letter to town meeting. We decided to do that at some point along the way. So I wanted to write that down so that for future
No, hang on,
members,
where was it?
they knew that's what we do. That's how we communicate to them. But we don't have to because it's referred to earlier.
Well, the finance committee develops the warrant recommendations, letter to town meeting, and other finance committee
all.
communications.
Yep,
Says it all, right there.
sounds good to me.
I mean, I don't think we need to have that in any more detail, but
No, says it all.
we can always expand this. Terry, would you like to expand this? We can
But
add
I
another.
want to know is who's doing the cover.
Yeah, this one is-
What was that?
Oh, I'll do the cover. I love doing that sort of thing. Stuff is
Talking cover
Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
Fluffy.
You should do a picture. of the-
Somebody
of the finance
offended by
committee.
this beautiful cover I designed?
Actually, it's perfect.
I don't care if someone's doing cover.
It suits the audience.
Suits the audience, exactly. So as a side comment, because I feel like I have to say this, Terry, so Terry apparently ran this through the, was it AI on Word?
No,
Copilot.
Microsoft has, want to write this friendly, want to write this professional.
Well, this
So
came
I
off
ran
as,
it-
I can imagine.
I ran it through friendly. It
She
was
ran it through
kinda
friendly,
funny.
and I took a look
Came
at
across
it.
as friendly?
I really enjoyed, there was a sentence about chatting about budgetary stuff.
Oh, you asked it to rewrite it in a friendly manner?
I
Yeah,
thought, well, that's friendly.
It's AI, I think, but I just thought it was funny. I use it sometimes if I'm writing a letter just to see, you know, if somebody
Absolutely.
who is professional wrote this, what would they say? And then I might use it or not, but.
I did suggest that we could perhaps use that on our town meeting letter. Budgetary stuff brings it on down.
Why not?
So we're done, right? I will,
I think so.
So what is it, like 3
couple-
pages?
I'll fix it up in all black and white, send it to everybody here for the check of, you know, period, comma, whatever. And then we'll let whoever, Gary, I
We'll have
guess.
a group photo. We should actually, oh, no, no.
Photo.
Photo.
And we can send it out to all the town meeting members and say, this is your finance committee in action.
When you go to
Like it
other
or not, right.
town websites.
No, you're right,
There's
yeah.
usually a picture of the group, the committee that year, and it's updated every year. It's
Oh,
true.
it's true.
Shows people, there's real people behind
We're actually
this.
looking to do that on our website. It puts a face with the name with people. It really,
Yeah.
it sounds silly, but it's actually not.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
actually a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Picture that.
Staff and committee.
Picture day.
We did it a few years ago, but, you know, we wanted to save money on photographers here. So we used the detective from the police department, and he used his crime scene
really?
camera.
Yeah, we're a crime scene.
I have a question on communication. Does it make sense to run this stuff through the communication person?
We can ask
Should
Jess
they
to
have
take a
some
look.
feedback on it, or is that overkill?
I mean, she's great. She's definitely willing to help, so we can.
Or are we giving her another task to do that? We don't want to give her more than she's already doing.
No, if we just wanted her to look at it and make
Okay. No, that's a good idea then.
recommendations,
As long as
she'd
you
be
think
willing
it's
to do that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, she's
Recommend a
great.
cover too.
Yeah, she is.
A
She's
real
great.
good cover for the community, and that could be standardized throughout
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
communications,
point.
stuff like that. Great stuff.
You could incorporate the high school in some of these things, because like,
Yeah.
the high school has a photography program.
Do you have an update for us, Cody, or have you already given us all
I
kinds of?
think you have a
info?
good idea of what's going on, but I'll just add, we're in the thick of the health insurance changes, or recommended those health insurance changes. We've had 2 public meetings this week for all of our employees at the past 2 nights. We have MOAs out to all of our unions, and they've begun meeting and voting on them, and we have to have them all back by Monday. So fingers crossed. Right now, we have at least 3 or 4 unions that have signed off, so hoping to get 11 out of 11 by Monday.
That's great news.
What's the feedback on the buy-in? Is it positive? Are you
It's
getting?
all,
any-
yeah, it's very positive. Once people understand what it really is, it's very
They're not
positive.
losing anything, yeah.
No, there's only opportunities to gain. So we've had a lot of really positive, there's been some concerns at first, just not really understanding, what the changes are. But when people see that the savings is, I mean, I think I talked about before, $11,000 for someone who switches from an HMO, a traditional HMO to a high deductible plan, it's hard to argue. And the total savings across our employees will be $2 million next year.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Is that an achievable goal to have a response by Monday?
We've let them know it has to be.
There you go.
Yeah, we've been in contact for the past couple of weeks, so we didn't just throw them on it this week. We did throw them on it just in the past couple of weeks. Unfortunately, it was beyond our control. We were voted into the health group the last week of February. We started having meetings with all of our unions that next week, and the health group needs a decision by April 1st of if we're going to accept into that group or not. So I think given the amount of savings
It's gonna
that's.
be on call this weekend,
Yeah, well, we're always on
making
call.
making the phone calls and make sure it's on your desk Monday morning.
I know,
right?
we're following up. Yeah.
Feels good to be making progress on some things.
I hope so, yeah. That's the goal. And we just, obviously, we had the joint meeting with the school committee on Monday. And so the school committee is meeting again on Tuesday to hopefully review a compromised budget, essentially.
Right. If you weren't at the meeting, you should watch the meeting.
It's very good.
I think most of us were there.
I know, yeah.
There was only a couple of us. Yeah, John was there. I
He
saw
must have been
John.
behind, yeah.
Yeah, he was to your right. You were to my left. Brian was there.
I didn't
Brian
take
was right in front of me.
attendance.
Oh, I totally did. I was like, who's here? No, I'm just kidding.
It's too close to the front.
It wasn't on TV, but you could get it on Zoom, or you can
Oh,
get it on
really?
your
YouTube.
computer.
YouTube, yeah.
YouTube, there you go, that one. Should know that one by heart. But I couldn't get it anywhere. I'm
The
like, wait a
the only
minute, I
other
can
thing,
find
Janine,
this.
is
Oh, you weren't there.
the bylaw review committee does not include a member of the
Oh,
finance
it's
committee.
always on YouTube.
Okay, it's just,
Bylaw Community what?
Does not include a
Always
member of the
live on
finance committee. Bylaw review committee is made up of the town clerk, 2 members of town meeting, and 2 members appointed by the select board.
okay, so, I mean.
So it could be.
Somebody
Yeah,
could
it
be,
could
but it's
be, but
not
it's not by-
necessarily, it's not a liaison role. It
Yeah,
just
like
means
the
that
charter
they're.
review specifically says finance committee members.
because we
Bylaw
have-
review is not, yeah.
Correct, okay, good to know. So we have like 1 minute if somebody has a liaison report.
I went to a great DPW meeting today, so that was awesome, comprehensive program review, everything that Cody had to say and more, so it was awesome.
I got the postcard in the mail yesterday.
Me too.
Any smudges on your postcards?
Yeah.
No,
There was a smudge on
Yeah.
it? Could you read it still?
yeah.
Okay.
You can read it, yeah.
no smudge
I
on
didn't
that.
notice yet.
Oh, smudge.
We've gotten mixed reviews that some have had smudge, so if it's a widespread thing, we want to go back to the vendor and say, hey, you made it,
Okay. Mine,
I was
if
at
you
the
want it, I
Council
still
on
have it.
Aging this morning with Cody, and the kitchen is moving right along.
Yay.
We're hoping that we'll have, bids are be going out. And we're in hope that the kitchen project will be done end of August,
And when are the bids due on that?
Mid-May.
midnight.
May, okay. I'm dying for the alts on that.
Me
The
too.
bag,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bag group is in the process of, just started the process of saying what we accomplished now and what we want to go do forward in the next fiscal year. And that's due to the select board in about 4 or 5 weeks. And then the plan is to make presentations to anybody that's interested in hearing us, including this group and the school committee.
Capital Improvement Committee made their votes probably the earliest in history, so that report will be done.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so one last thing before we leave. Buddy Baker Smith will be in next week
Oh,
to
next
go over his
week,
warrant
okay.
articles. Yep, couldn't make it tonight. And as Terry mentioned, the CIPC has wrapped up their recommendations for the Springtown meeting. So that's been done. We thank them, and we actually have 2 new committee members on there, because we had 2 openings, so we filled those up. The 2 members there.
It was nice to interview for those roles.
Yeah, and lastly, I know I talked about this at the beginning of the year, but the members here will be getting an email so that we can start using the OneDrive. So all this documentation will then be put into the OneDrive so you can access that. So I'm working with IT right
That's
now, so
amazing.
We'll
Awesome.
be doing that.
Yeah, I feel like that's some progress.
I mean, not that we print a lot of paper, but
Oh, we used
One
to
step
print a
forward. Oh,
lot
yeah.
of
We used to
paper.
print a
Oh, my
lot more.
God.
We used to
can
come in and
s-
have books, so I'm glad we're not doing that, yeah.
That's great.
and that is it.
Do we have any minutes?
No minutes this week.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Well, I'll make a motion to
Carrie
adjourn.
makes a
I'll
motion to,
second.
Patrick seconds, all in favor?
We're all gonna fight for the second. Aye.
Officially adjourned.
Thank you.